Hi, this is Snowman, and today I think we should talk about something that's, coming for all of us. The inevitable. Death. I think it starts with being tired. And it's kind of like a marriage in which death unveils its face. Only once you have said your vows. And I want to start off with a poem titled The End of August by David Budbill. I am overtired of the great harvest I myself desired. Robert Frost. It's the end of August and I'm tired. The garden is tired. The grass is tired. Everything is tired. We've all had too much summer. Bring on the cold, bring on the frost. Bring on all that death and destruction. Let us have some quiet and some peace. Let us rest. Give us emptiness. And that was The End of August by David Budbill. And it all begins like that. We start with something big, we're tired of our jobs, and then we're tired of some people, and then we're tired of the world, of ourselves. And it's just endless days of just being tired. Death or dying might be a fear, it might be an acceptance, it might be something somebody's been wanting. I am okay with the fact of dying, but how I die still gives me great fears and nightmares. I want it to be quick. Whoever my God may be, I pray that they have mercy on me when it comes to my death. I wouldn't say I'm scared of dying, but, I guess there's that anxiety of how. And that leads us to our next poem, Anxiety About Dying, by Alicia Ostriker. It isn't any worse than what I discover in the dentist's chair under the nitrous oxide. The whole jaw is going, I complain. The gums, the bone, two enormous fillings lost. What do I need? Maybe a guillotine, says my dentist, the joker. The only thing I have to fear is fear itself, I tell him. We believe in that bullshit, he says, setting to work on my rotting bicuspid. Now comes the good part, breathing the happy gas. I get answers to all the questions I had about death but was afraid to ask. Will there be pain? Yes. Will my desires still be unsatisfied? Yes. My human potential remain unrealized? Yes. Can a person stop minding about that? Certainly. Can I commend my spirit to the 17 angels whistling outside the dentist window? Of course. How nice the happy gas. What a good friend. I unclench my sweaty little hand. I wave goodbye to my teeth. It seems they are leaving by train for a vacation. I'll meet them in the country when I can. And that's kind of how I feel. There's a calmness to me when it comes to death. An understanding that it's something that has to happen. But like Eliza Griswold, she explained how she wants to die before she even lived. In her poem, Water Table, by Eliza Griswold. My earliest wish was not to exist, to burst in the backyard without violence, no blood, no fleshy bits, mute button pressed alone behind the rectory where no one would see me. This wasn't a plea to be found or mourned for, but to be unborn into the atmosphere, to hang in the humid air as ponds vent upward from the overheated earth, rise until they freeze and crystallize, then drop into the aquifer. And that was Water Table. And one of the lines that sticks out to me the most is, to be unborn into the atmosphere. At what point does life make you want to not live on Earth but still stay around because of how beautiful it can be? So while some of us want to dissolve into the air that our lovers can breathe, our next poem talks about the color of the atmosphere. Midnight Blue by Laura Theis. We have to look up when we search for our dead, even though we buried them in the ground, but the dead like to call to us from the moon. They try to spell out their wildering words in clouds or meteors. They try to wave at us through murmurations and other such avian patterns in significant moments. They do this to teach us to make lifting up our eyes a habit. Remember, they say, once every day for a couple of minutes, the entire sky turns your favorite color, the very darkest shade of blue. And I agree. One of my favorite hours that only happens for a few minutes is the blue hour, which happens when the sun rises and fills your entire room with its hue. For Laura, it was the darker shade of blue. For me, it was the lighter shade. And for others, it could just be the light. Just like the poem Flyway by Romeo Oriogan. There is no light that holds the dead in beauty like the light before nightfall. The evening abundance of grace luring the wild geese to stop on their way to Mexico, bringing all that is gone into a moment of homecoming. I had walked through it once. It was December. The cold was beginning, and hearing names, Africans at the crossroad of life, refugees and migrants, were getting ready to meet at a makeshift bar assembled in a basement and named after a famous donkey in Khartoum. So they said, where the Roomba would wild out of speakers and we would seek what those at crossroads seek, touch and joy, sight and the safety of bodies. I had taken my time before getting on the bus heading to the bar. Walking down Coconino, the dogs were out, blades of grass faded, man-made lakes were filled with geese like airports on water. Even in the midst of so much beauty, there is no place that will save us. Our destination is between suffering and joy. Everything else is a road filled with unending patience. And even I, a nomad who has witnessed so much of the world, will be forgotten before I reach the veranda of my homeland. And yet as I watched the last light of evening waiting for the bus, I saw them, the dead, descending on wings, joining the birds to play in water like little children, laughing into joy, and then they were gone. All that was left was the only freedom we could speak without shame. The weather, winter, the harmony of all things. When I read that poem, to me I took it in a tone of, something died for him that day. Or maybe this memory that just happened is now in the past. And he can't hold on to it, Either a part of us dies or something else, or we witness death. And whether it may be the death of someone else or something that has died within us. And it amazes me how we can just keep going. And it's a healing path. Like in K. Ryan's poem, Still Start. As if engine parts could be wrenched out at random and the car would still start and sound even, hearts can go with chambers broken open. And it's true. Life could gut us, it could kick us while we're on the floor, and we just have to keep going, no matter how much pain one might be in. And it's something Dane Smith. And this next poem, by Dane Smith, Sideshow, he writes about this, about the violence of death, and how one must keep standing. Have I spent too much time worrying about the boys killing each other to pray for the ones who do it with their own hands? Is that not black on black violence? Is that not a mother who has to bury her boy? It is not the same play, the same plot and the characters. The curtain rises, then a womb, a boy, a night emptied of music, a trigger, a finger, a bullet. Then lights. It always drives the crowd to their feet. An encore of boy after sweet boy. They're endless. Bloody bow. They throw dirt on the actors like roses until the boys are drowned by the earth, and the audience doesn't remember what they're standing for. But standing to others might be something else. It might be them wanting something to fall. And in the poem The Trouble with Snowman by Roger McGow, "The trouble with snowmen," said my father one year, "they are no sooner made than they just disappear. I'll build you a snowman, and I'll build it to last. Add sand and cement, and then have a cast." And so every winter, he went on to explain, you shall have a snowman, be it sunshine or rain. And that snowman still stands, though my father is gone, out there in the garden, like an unmarked gravestone, staring up at the house, grows and misshapen as if waiting for something bad to happen. For as the years pass and I grow older, when summers seem short and winters colder, the snowmen I envy as I watch children play are the ones that are made and then fade away. The Trouble with Snowmen. The snowman was built out of love, and that love can be for anything, for anyone. And for Ted Kusa, it was for the death of a dog. The next morning, I felt that our house had been lifted away from its foundation during the night. I was now adrift, though so heavy it drew a foot or more of whatever was blowing it up. Not water, but something cold and thin and clear. Silence riffling its surface as the house began to turn on a strengthening current, leaving, taking my wife and me with it. And though it had never occurred to me until that moment, for 15 years our dog had held down what we had by pressing his belly to the floors, his front paws too. And with him gone, the house had begun to float out onto emptiness. No solid ground in sight. And when there is the death of a dog, like my boy also, the world stops and watches you. It feels sympathy for the way you just died. One grave for 2 funerals. And sometimes the grave can be for us. Like in The Kiss by Kurt Brown. That kiss I failed to give you. How can you forgive me? The kiss I would have spent on you is still there within me. It will probably die there. But it will be the last of me to die. And it could be a death of yourself that you didn't want. It could be a death of someone that you didn't see coming. But it could also be a death that is wanted, that has been invited, that has been asked to stay for dinner. And that leads us to our next poem, Herman Finley by Jericho Brown. I didn't tell you that in the end he begged for the end. Death like the bed after the bedtime story. Death like a widening crack of light beneath the door. He begged them to let him go so he could go. Said I want to die, and then said kill me. Please. You and I endure that first pain. We just want to die. People with that other ultimately physical agony say kill me, and no, they won't discuss it in therapy. Kill me. I'm thinking of him today because I want to die, and I am ashamed to say it. My thinking is red and sticky. Rather than kill me, I'd like you to listen as I live in a perpetual whine. Can't I still be somebody's baby? Say yes for yourself. Call me sometime. Every day I wish to die. Remind me how he insisted. Kill me, and I'll live again. And it takes a lot for someone to view death in that way. For someone who wants to die already. And then you have others who don't want death, that don't have the bone to kill. Just like in the poem, his Dark Elation by Mr. Sharik. As my comrades dozed off, talking late into the night, I taught the wolf a lesson when he put me to the test. I saw my sheep bolting off and barely dressed, drowsily got to my feet. Thrilled with his kill, he lopped away in his Dark Elation, like a pillar of dust kicked up by the wind. Several times I chased him away, and several times he came back. Then I knew I had no choice. My flock would be wiped out. He lunged at my hand and my heart missed a beat. I steadied myself and fired an arrow. With a limp he slinked away. That night, safe and sound, I said, God be praised. It's tough to be someone who doesn't want to pull the trigger. But that doesn't mean death will move on. And with that, let's go into Death with Three Left Feet by Marina Dora Martino. 1. Empty man. What if there's death inside me, and I am unaware of it, traveling at midday through scolding grains to the house where it is decided? Is it there, the infamous button, the golden finger that kills? To the kind eye, even the moth is golden, but not in the scary way of noons. 2. Forest with ill woman. Death is always inside us. Ear to the other world, nose futureward, which is north like moss, waiting for the perfect collision of ring and bone, barking at everything so we don't have to hear the minutes. Not heartless. This inside hound, the only question is, who is the fox? 3. The leap. I open when it opens, and I peruse its wheels. Lovely clock. That inside has an orchard and horses that eat apples, and the farmer shoots the horses, and that's how time passes. It's amazing to me how, death is literally there at all times. And I'm sure that's what our next poet was thinking when he wrote his poem, In Sum. If I were to die, my dear mother, I would have nothing to leave you. The butcher would take my jacket, the grocer my coat on account of my debts. What about my loves and my poems? How could you face the neighbors and not be ashamed? In sum, my dear mother, no corn in the cellar, no wife at home. Naked I was born, naked I will die. And that is all our fears, I'm sure of it. What will we leave behind? Will we even have a chance to leave something behind when death comes to give us a kiss? Some can truly sense that death is coming. I remember when one of my grandpas passed away. I was spending the night at my sister's house, and the morning of, me and my godfather are sitting on the couches, and she walks out of the room, and she starts crying about how her dream was about my grandpa dying. And I'm sure there's many others out there who have that sense of when it's coming. Probably like this next poet, D. Nurks, and his poem, Venus. Death is coming, and you must build a starship to take you to Venus. Make it from a ketchup bottle, a flashlight coil, a penny, the cat's bell, mom's charm bracelet. They say the planet is torment, whipped by circular winds, choked in vitriol clouds. But no, when you get there, it is a light in the sky and I am with you. If you find nothing else, borrow the pleated wing of a winter moth, lighter than dust. And I love how he starts it off. Death is coming. A statement, not a what if. It could be like ringing a bell at the front desk, and death arrives. And death sits you at the table. And that leads us right into his next poem, The Chime. When death stands in your doorway, you must show no weakness. If he points at his watch, answer in 5 minutes. If he insists, murmur just a minute. When he brittles, whisper half a minute. A second. Half a second. 1 moment. You mustn't look him in the eye, but don't avert your gaze. Glance decisively at the bridge of the nose or the moist place right below the lips. If he unfolds a map, please don't express a preference for the seashore or the mountains. Betray no longing or anxiety. You might tap the margin nonchalantly if there is a margin. There's an old superstition that death is a healer. He brings peace, escape from corruption. On the contrary, he is not a person, an animal, an insect, not even a pebble, not even a name, not even an event, not a whiff of night air. So why, ask yourself, does he fidget there, with that peevish, can't we meet each other halfway expression? In those absurd Goodwill clothes, baggy corridor suit, pants and jacket the same color but different wells. So often folded, the seams are white as chalk lines. Fat two-tone white and beige golf shoes with cleats, nylon argyle socks, like someone's idea of an encyclopedia salesman from the 1930s. And why is the street behind him so fascinating? Empty as a stage set. A few vans double parked, a cat hiding under one. Sometimes the flicker of the tip of a tail. Sometimes the glint of the eye itself. Ferocious. Ecstatic. And there are those that are curious about the afterlife. If there is even is an afterlife. But some people might not even want that. Just like our next poet Joyce, in her poem, Our Vanishing. Thanks, no thanks, to eternal life. What pleasure watching my old house broken beamed, gray elephant brought to its knees, white ash, gone the way of trilobites and horsehair fern, even the nuclear-proof cockroach in deep freeze. Cue balls knock each other randomly, reverse. The tape and movement looks the same, illustrating the end of time. Things happen, but don't matter. And if Leth stripes you like a swimmer from his trunks, where will I be? If heaven without you is hell, how will I know? A forever of no never mind does not appeal. God's heart a cold contracting cinder. Give me the white light, the slit of split-second calm, and knowing over is over. Now how many of you would love to be in the afterlife? How many of you would love to be a ghost? How many of you would just love to stick around? I don't know, but there's something beautiful about dying. And I think every time someone does, it goes straight to their eyes. Such beautiful eyes. And our next poet talks about the beauty, the magic, in dying. In the poem Compost by Dan Shiloty. There is magic in decay, a dance to be done for the rotting, the maggot-strewn piles of flesh which pile upon the dung-ridden earth, and the damp that gathers and rusts and defiles. There is a bit of this, and even the most zoetic soul, the dancing child's arm flailing to an old ska song. Conduct the day-old flies away to whatever rank native is closet. Just today, I was walking around the river with my daughter in my backpack, and I opened my email on my phone, and Duffy had sent me a poem called Compost. I read it to my little girl, and I started to explain. Before I was 3 words in, Selma started yelling, "Daddy, Daddy, snake!" And the path was a snake, belly up and still nerve twitching. The ghost of some passing, bicycle or horse. "Pretty," Selma said. "Yes," I said, and underneath my yes, another yes, the yes to my body, just beginning to show the signs of slack, and another, my grasping in the dark for affirming flesh, that in turn says yes, yes, let's rot together, but not until we've drained what sap is left in these trees. And I wake up in the morning, and I think of the coroner, calling to ask what color my father's eyes were. And I asked, why? Why can't you just look? And the coroner, matter-of-factly, says, decay. Do you want some eggs, my love? I have a new way of preparing them. And look outside. I think this weather has the chance of holding. And just like that, the end comes and goes. And Mark Strand talks about it a little in his poem, The End. Not every man knows what he shall sing at the end, watching the pier as the ship sails away, or what it will seem like when he's held by the sea's roar, motionless there at the end, or what he shall hope for once it is clear that he'll never go back. When the time has passed to prune the rose or caress the cat, when the sunset torching the lawn and the full moon icing it down no longer appear, not every man knows what he'll discover inside. When the weight of the past leans against nothing, and the sky is no more than remembered light, when the stories of Sirius and Cumulus come to a close, and all the birds are suspended in flight, not every man knows what is waiting for him, or what he shall sing. When the ship he is on slips into darkness, there at the end, all you poets in the world, we're all coming to an end. So it's best to say our goodbyes. So here's a poem by Harriet Monroe titled A Farewell. Goodbye. No, do not grieve that it is over, the perfect hour, that the winged joy, sweet honey-loving rover flits from the flower. Grieve not, it is the law. Love will be flying, yes, love and all. Glad was the living, blessed be the dying. Let the leaves fall. And circling back to the very first poem by David Budbill, hopefully the end of August comes soon, so we can watch the leaves start to fall. And we'll end it with the way we'll start, by a poem by Graham Faust, titled And the Ghosts. They own everything. So don't worry, everyone. When death comes, and your pockets are empty, and your soul feels hollow, when you're too tired to sleep, death will come, and we will have everything. Because when we die, we'll have the entire earth at our fingertips, and she'll hug us throughout the longest sleep we've ever had. So until then, let's fight against the day and win. This has been Ant Snowman, and this is the Poet's Lighthouse. Until next time.